All right. I'd ask that everyone please rise as we welcome Pastor Dave Foss. Lead us in our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Let's pray. God, thank you for this day. Thanks for the joy of knowing that we can call out to you tonight and bring you our honest concerns and petitions, and that you hear us. We give you thanks for the city, for the chance to live here, to work here, for good neighbors. What a blessing. And we thank you for the officials in this room who give their time to talk about the issues that concern the people of this community. Help them, Lord. Give them wisdom tonight and every night in their deliberations. Would they be wise, think rightly, fairly on the things that come before them? And through them, may the good of Fergus Falls be accomplished. Again, thank you for them. Those that lead us, bless them and their families. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. It's 5:30, August 5th, 2024, and we'll call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council to order. Roll call.
Bonnie.
Here.
Rupert.
Here.
Greenmeyer.
Here.
Rachel.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Fish.
Here.
Joel.
Here.
We have a quorum. First item of business this evening is the approval of the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we're going to go with the open forum. My bad. At this time, we will open the floor. Anyone wishing to speak to the council on any item that's not on the agenda, feel free to do so at this time. Please step to the lectern and state your name for the record. Seeing no one, we will move along to the approval of the agenda, and we'll call on our city administrator, Andrew Bremseth. Good evening, Andrew.
Yeah, good evening, Your Honor, council members. I was asked by Councilmember Hicks to remove item number 1 from the consent agenda regarding the minutes. Otherwise, there's no additional changes to the agenda this evening.
With that, I would entertain a motion approving the agenda with that change.
I'll make that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Al. Second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Under public hearings, we have 2 public hearings this evening. The first is a public hearing for Public Improvement 7224, the Scenic Drive Infrastructure Project, Pebble Shores Drive to Pebble Hills Drive. And we'll call on our city engineer, Brian Navarro. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, Your Honor and council members. Yes, I'm just going to go over some information, but this is the preliminary project improvement hearing for Public Improvement 7224, the Pebble Shores Drive to Pebble Hills Drive Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. I just want to turn to the map right here. For this public hearing, we're referring to option 3. This is just sanitary sewer only at this time in this particular vicinity because it already has been served with the water main services. So we're proposing construct 8-inch sanitary sewer main with services. Like noted, today's the hearing date. Preliminary interest rate of 7%, assessment of 15 years. We're estimating the assessment rates to the benefiting properties of $11,800 each per unit, and with the 4-inch service at $2,875 each as well. I'm going to go over it a little bit here, but the recommendation is to have those deferred. All these projects deferred at this time. So the cost breakdown, deferred special assessment sanitary sewer main of $58,700. We do have a city share of sanitary sewer main units as well, in an amount of $59,000. And then we do also have a direct city share of the sewer at $10,800 for a total project cost of $128,500. Financing, we're requesting to PRR 429 special assessment bonds deferred, and a portion of our sanitary sewer as well to fully fund this project at $128,500. I would like to note there was one written objection received prior to this meeting. That was from Gerald Linneman. A copy of that's all on your desk as well and everything. But my interpretation after reading this, the request would object. However, if the project is approved, I would request that the special assessments be classified as deferred. And I would like to note that is the recommendation of staff to make these all deferred. However, that's up to the council to make that decision. So at this time, I'm just going to open up the public hearing for Public Improvement 7224.
Thank you, Brian. And we will do that at this time. Public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak this project, please feel free to step to the lectern.
So the unplotted lots, what happens with those for the assessments? I just don't understand how that works because they're not plotted. Or am I missing something?
Brian, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, those will all be deferred because it's not platted. Once it is platted, they will
Then
be
they get assessed.
separated
Okay.
with the general benefits and everything that's already.
Perfect.
So they're
Okay.
deferred for, just like the undeveloped lots at this point.
The assessments are in this hearing, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Anyone else wishing to speak to this? All right, we're going to close the public hearing. It's back to the council. We will be looking for a resolution ordering the project plans and specifications as for public improvement 7224.
I will offer that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Tom. Questions from the council for Brian or staff?
Is that with it being deferred?
Yeah.
Yep.
The resolution is staff's recommendation of the deferment of the special assessments as Brian alluded to. Everybody clear? Roll call, please.
Tony,
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Freemeyer.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Item number 2 is a public hearing for public improvement 8231, which is Scenic Drive Infrastructure Project, Pebble Hill Shores Drive, water main extension. And again, Brian Navarro.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Just go over a little bit more information, just similar to past. I'm going to be requesting open up the public hearing for public improvement 8231, Pebble Shores Drive and 2 Pebble Hills Drive Water Main Extension Project. Up upon the screen right there, it shows an extension, approximately 1,100 feet of 12-inch water main. Does not fully go to the end of it, but this is what was a recommendation for the PER. So this type of construction is a 12-inch water main extension. Just note that we're not putting in individual water services. This is because this is a gravel street, so those can be done at any time in the near future. Today will be the hearing date, August 5th, 2024. Interest rate proposed at this time, 7%. Assessment, 15 years. The estimated special assessment rates per unit is $9,100 each per unit. And once again, we are recommending that those be placed in deferral status as well. So the cost breakdown, deferred special assessment water main, 6-inch equivalent, 16 units, about $145,600. The city share of water main of the 6-inch equivalent is $11,375. And then the direct share of upgrading from a 6 to a 12, which is our assessment policy, is a cost of $78,925. So the total estimated project cost is $235,900. Similar to the previous project, we're recommending PIR 429 bonds for special assessed and deferred status of $145,600, and then a portion of the Water Enterprise Fund of $90,300 to fully fund this project at $235,900. I have not received any objections to this public improvement 8231, other than some general correspondence. So at this time, I'm requesting you open up the public hearing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Brian. And I'm going to do that at this time. Public hearing for public improvement 8231 is now open. Anyone wishing to speak to the Pebble Shores Drive water main extension project is free to do so. Free to do so at this time. See no one. We will close public hearing and it's back to council. Would someone like to offer resolution?
I will offer that.
Thank you. Jim, Anthony, second. Any questions for staff? Roll call, please.
Tony,
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Freemeyer.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. There are no bids to award this evening. There are no petitions or communications under the consent agenda. There are 10 remaining items if we remove item 1. Ben has them on the board. They're also included in our packet. If anyone would like to remove any other items, we can do so at this time, or I would look for a resolution approving the remaining 10 items.
I'll make that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks, Scott. Second. Roll call, please.
Conley,
Yes.
Milford,
Yes.
Freemeyer.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Item number 1 is a motion approving the minutes from the July 15th, 2024 City Council meeting. Anthony, did you have a question or a addition?
Yeah, I was called by, obviously, a resident who was concerned that the minutes regarding the Charter Commission report did not necessarily reflect the conversation, and so I would call upon Laurie Mullen to kind of give us some additional detail. And, for reference, on your desk was a copy of the agenda for the Charter Commission and their minutes.
You
So,
recognize Lori. Good evening.
Lori Mullen, 2840 Lakewood Drive. In the city council minutes, there's a couple points here. Right under Charter Commission report, it indicates that their conversation was that the vacancy should be filled forthwith, without delay. That was not the discussion. The discussion ended up being that forthwith would take place after the general election and canvassing. So at the last meeting, at that meeting too, I had stood before the council and made some recommendations. None of that is reflected in the minutes provided to you today. So I was concerned about the Charter Commission and their inability to take their job seriously. I thought it was, quite honestly, very lax on their part. I provided you a copy of what their agenda was at that meeting. The agenda for July 9th. They adopted the agenda, but the minutes were for 9/12/23. Tim, the secretary, had indicated that he had not sent out the minutes, and so nobody had the minutes in front of them as to what they were even approving. The public comment section asked if any of us wanted to speak. I was there, I signed in, and it does not indicate anywhere in the minutes that I was there. So I said I chose to speak after they had had their discussion. When they started talking about the council vacancy, many of them did not seem to be up to speed on the home rule charter and what the process was for that. And really, at the city council meeting in July, Lynn outlined that as that there was a process and that if there was going to be any change to how that vacancy was going to be filled, there need to be a review of ordinance, that there had to be public comment, period. So their confusion with how that should even come together. There was also some other handouts that were provided by Ralph. I asked for those handouts. I was told that that was confidential information. That is not confidential information because it had nothing to do with the land purchase. It had nothing to do with employee discipline. And when you go and read the statutes on home charter rule, it does indicate that those ordinances are approved by citizens, and we have the right to know what's being presented to the Charter Commission. In that meeting, or the last council meeting, I had made some suggestions which are not reflected. I said the Charter Commission was not posted on the city website. That needs to be so citizens can understand when
I
these
believe it
meetings are
was.
taking
I believe it was.
It is
posted.
now? It wasn't?
I believe it was, yeah. It was then.
It was
as
not
well.
on the,
It was as well.
no, it was not on the calendar.
It was posted on
And
the city
the
website.
Charter Commission was disorganized at no minutes.
So that's, I don't think that's an appropriate, that's your opinion, and you're entitled to that opinion. The Charter Commission is made up of,
The agenda needs to
14
be
people
accurate,
that
the
are
memo
dedic-
needs to be accurate, the handouts need to be accurate. This is our governing body, Ben.
so if the discussion is on the minutes, if there's something in the minutes that you would like to have
I'm
council
telling you what
consider.
was
city-
stated.
But we're not going to go
City-
over,
The city council's minutes.
yeah, the city council's minutes. We're not going to go over their minutes and we drag them through the mud.
No, I'm just
about
saying what
the
I
way
had
they
even
can-
made.
about the way they conduct their meeting when they're not here to defend
Right,
themselves.
that's fine.
Right?
But I made
They
some
have been duly
recommendations to the
appointed.
city council to take back to the Charter Commission, and that's what I'm referring to. And I'm just bringing supporting documents as to what they passed out.
Okay, thanks. Is there Anthony, did you have a recommendation to change the amendments, or is there a recommendation to approve the minutes as presented?
I think the biggest thing was that, where Laurie was coming from was that basically that, her and Al Cremeyer were at the meeting, and that didn't sort of reflect that, from the Charter Commission's perspective that,
Their minutes?
yeah.
Yeah. Then, and we're approving our minutes,
Yeah.
right? So it has nothing to do with the Charter Commission minutes, right? So you can take that up with the Charter Commission, but we have minutes that were presented for this council that Lynn took at the last meeting, so I would look for a motion to approve those.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott. Any discussion? Hope I'm not out of line there. We got to keep our work and our business here. So,
What's the first one?
Tom.
Sorry.
Scott. Thank you. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That motion carries. Moving along to ordinance and resolutions. Tonight we have a resolution authorizing the city to act as the fiscal host for the sculpture walk. And I think, Scott, did you say you had a comment on that?
Yeah, I'd like to offer the resolution and then make an amendment, please. Let's see if I can find my notes for it here. I was on a different page.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to make amendments, Scott? Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got to open the right page
No
on my
worries.
computer.
Take
here.
your time.
If I can just find it. Got too many tabs open. Has that ever happened to anybody before? It's just crazy. There it is. Okay. As we consider the resolution to authorize the city to be the fiscal host for the sculpture walk, I'd like to offer the following comment. As the fiscal host, the city council recognizes its responsibility to act in the public interest regarding the placement of art in public spaces and appreciates the work of the Public Arts Commission to initiate and manage this project. So I'd like to then offer the following amendment to the proposed resolution. The Public Arts Commission shall annually present their proposed sculpture selections for approval by the City Council.
Thanks, Scott. And I just will comment, not to speak for Clara, but I think you did talk to Clara, and Clara thought that sounded like a reasonable amendment to that resolution. Is that accurate?
Yep, and I did also talk to Kim Embritson, Chair of the Public Arts Commission, and he agreed.
Okay. Is that, you're offering that resolution with that amendment?
Yes.
Thank you, Scott. Someone like to second?
Whatever.
Thank you, Scott. Al, questions?
Which one was it?
There was a tie over here. You can
Give it to Scott.
Give it to Al.
You go to Scott.
I'll second.
You get the next one, Al.
I can be Minnesota nice.
There you go. Sounds good. Okay, we have a resolution and
He's
a,
actually been twice, he's tried to second something you don't recognize.
I got you next time. All right, we have a second and a third and a fourth. Roll call, please.
Tommy.
Yes.
Hoover.
Yes.
Krameyer.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Pardon me. Next item is a second reading of ordinance 58, 8th series, dealing with cannabis zoning. And this has been to committee number of times. It's been to the council a number of times. It's been revised a number of times. We're going to call for roll call. I did say that I would allow the public to comment before the second reading, so I want to make good on that promise. So if anyone has any comments on the second reading before we call for the roll, please feel free to step to the lectern.
Mike Donahoe, resident of Fergus Falls. First, I'd like to commend the city and the committees involved on the diligent work they put into doing this. You know, it's not this one wouldn't be a fun task to do. There's polarized positions on both sides of the fence, and I think the council, for the most part, and the city has come up with a reasonable compromise for everybody. My only concern is Business Zone 5. I have not committed the zoning map to memory, but you can be allowed to have meso and micro establishments in Zone 5 with a conditional use permit. But there's no mention of having a retail establishment in B5 at all. It says you can have B6 without any.
So we don't have any B, not to interrupt, but we don't have any B5, just so you're clear. So
Okay,
Yeah, there's no B5 zoning in town.
no B5 zoning in town.
never mind.
Hey,
We should probably clean that up.
but I do, Mike, but I do appreciate that, and I'm just going to second what you said. This has been a difficult conversation. We've been having it since January. I think we've come to, like as Scott said to me the other day, you know, nobody's completely happy here in the situation. It came to a compromise. It's something I think that, what I can tell, we can all agree on. So appreciate the words, Mike.
So can I ask then, the follow-up question is, why do we even cite B5? If we don't have B5, then why is it in the ordinance?
So it's the same, so the heading of B5, B6, it all goes together in our zoning code, but the reality of the situation is that we don't have any identified B5 zones, but there's in essence the same. So that's probably something we should look at in our zoning code and probably remove at some point. It just hasn't, it's been there since, I don't know, the
It's been earmarked
60s.
as getting cleaned up when we look at the bigger picture of zoning.
So if we would look at all of the ordinances, not just a specific. So if we take it out of B5, okay, makes sense. All right.
A good question.
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Mike.
Hi, my name is Jacob Bittner. The one question I had was kind of about, I know Kyle mentioned something about the potential of, if you guys pass the ordinance tonight, then these businesses that are on a potential fast track to get licensing based on their social equity applications, there's potential that the city would have to respond, or the city has to respond within 30 days from the state to say that this business is okay to be here. And so my concern would be that the businesses that are in existence, that there may be like a hindrance or a freeze in that process if we don't clarify, you know, something about saying these businesses that are here, I'm assuming once that application process has started, that's why Kyle maybe said you have to start that process early, but I think we really need to make sure that we have some type of protection in for these businesses so that their applications aren't getting froze at a state level because we can't figure it out here locally. So that's one of my concerns. The other one would just kind of echo I don't know if you want to respond to that at all, but no, the other one would just echo the terms of the interim use, the length of it. Claire, I don't know what the planning commission determined was the recommended length. I know there was talk at that end of June meeting that 5 years was the target, and if that's the case, I think that's a really good compromise. Again, you got to give these businesses time to be successful. So I would just really like clarification and protection of some sort for these businesses that are in the process of spending a lot of money trying to get their licensing. And so for us to freeze that based on just deciding we're going to say this zoning ordinance is happening, but we don't necessarily have a process to fast track it for them, I would think that would be a mistake on our level. So that's about all I have to say about that. I think we'll have options to comment on the next one, right? 59.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. And I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but by having a second reading tonight, we are addressing those concerns of the 30-day gap that we have to respond, correct?
Yeah, we're adopting an ordinance that
That would allow
the state's going to ask us if the entity is complying with our zoning ordinances.
So we'll be able to say yes.
We'll be able to say, based upon our current zoning ordinance, these entities are either in compliance or not in compliance. That's the question the state's going to ask us.
So, Your Honor, what we're doing is we're advising businesses that are going to locate in the B3 zone to start that process early, because the conditional use process by statute can take more than 30 days. So we want to find ourselves in a situation where when the state asks, are they in compliance with your zoning laws, we can say yes rather than no on day 30 or before if everything's in good order and in compliance. So we just don't want any businesses that intend to apply to find a surprise and have to delay because the CUP or the IUP process can take more than 30 days by statute.
Got it. All right.
Hi, my name is Chris Stock. Lived in Fergus Falls my whole life. I just want to commend you guys for all the work you've done. I know it hasn't been easy, but you're far ahead of most cities in Minnesota right now, and especially even counties. So I just want to commend you guys for the work you've done. Nothing's perfect, and I think we have a long way to go from the state, county, and city level. And I just want to make sure that you guys know that you guys are going in the right direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Tommy.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Krameyer.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
That ordinance is approved. Next item is a first reading of ordinance 59, 8th series, relating to cannabis registration. We talked about this at the Committee of the Whole meeting. Tonight, we'll just need someone to introduce it.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Tom. Did I hear you had something to say about the? And we'll allow conversation at the second reading too. It just has to go
So
through a
there,
process.
it looks like 9 to 9 was the hours, the recommended hours. Is that accurate? Any reasoning why you wouldn't go a little bit later on the operational hours? Is there reasoning for that?
I tried to go earlier.
What's that? Sorry.
No,
Oh,
I'm just,
sorry.
I'm
I
just
just the only thought on that is this is when you look at the substance as what it is, this is a substance that it's sleep. It's very much so something people use for sleep. So I do think that there'd be scenarios where people would want to, go get some good little bedtime snack. So just a thought on that, but
sure. And we can consider that. I did, I joke, but they did initially say the hours were going to be 10 to 6 or something, and that committee talked through it.
And from my understanding, the 9 to 9 is probably within reason. For it. The other thing would be the allowance of beverages or edibles. Potentially, I know that it kind of it eliminates consumption of cannabis, cannabis products in establishments. I think that there's a huge industry with the potential for, full spectrum THC beverages that I think we could really, really benefit from if we're willing to be a little bit more open about, keeping the flower and the smoking and the smell out of establishments, but being open to the idea of maybe allowing for some type of an edible or a beverage to be served under the proper licensing by the state. So those are kind of my thoughts with that, but that's, not too much there, I guess.
Ben, I believe the state doesn't allow it. That's why it's not. I don't think the state allows the
Right now, they
beverages.
do allow the low potency.
The low stuff, but not the new. The new. I don't think they allow it in there. They won't allow it in any drinking establishment.
Okay.
You're on.
Yeah. Tom, go ahead. Thanks. Thank you, Scott.
The liquor stores are open till 10. Why not let the dispensaries be open till 10? Yeah, Your Honor. Councilman Roofer, one of the comments that the police department made to me was they would like to stagger those hours just a little bit so they can have coverage as those businesses are closing. Predominantly, the marijuana business can still be cash, and there's high risk, I think, for things to happen as businesses close. We would like officers, if possible, to be in those areas as people are coming out of the building, ending shifts, closing down for the night. And there's some value, I think, in staggering the end times between that and the liquor stores where we do have officers close by when those stores are closing down at the end of the night. So that's the thought process behind having those staggered.
That's perfectly fair.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And again, yeah, go ahead, Andy.
I think the other thing was that they were aligning the times with the county too, so everybody was on the same page. And then within the kind of this kind of registration, obviously we talked about adding a waste plan and what would be on page 4 anyway. Because when at the committee of the whole, Kyle talked about the fact that this waste has to be handled differently than just regular garbage. So I think we should include a waste plan in
the registration.
Yeah.
Okay, and we can, we'll make, we can. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. And I'm just gonna say, like, we'll take this information and we'll come back for the second reading. If we want to incorporate any of these things, any of these changes to as it's written, we'll do that on 2 weeks from tonight. Yes.
Yeah, I
please.
just wanted to talk about the waste management issues. That's going to be handled at like a state level, and you guys are going to be required to have something to be done with it. But really, it's going to come down to me handling my own waste with either an incinerator or potentially a dump, and having somebody sign off on everything that I'm bringing into you guys. So it's really going to be a 2-person show for like a city worker, county worker, or a state or police official. So I don't know if you guys need to waste too much time on that waste disposal, because it's really going to just be down to the state and probably the county, since you guys don't have an incinerator anymore. So.
Thanks, Chris. All right, that's been introduced, so we will move along unless there's any other questions. All right, next we have presentation of claims tonight in the amount of $2,618,507.62. If anyone has any questions, we'll direct them to our finance director, Bill Sawmore.
Ben, I'd like to offer that with one amendment.
Absolutely.
I will second.
You wanted to remove the Indigo signs, correct? There's a
Correct.
bill from Indigo Signs, which is Scott's employer, for directional sign for CBHH in the amount of $1,395. We'll remove that, and then you can offer the remaining resolution. Does that sound fair?
That's correct.
All right, Jim, second?
Sure.
Okay. Any questions for Bill on everything other than that Indigo signs? Roll call, please.
Kwame,
Yes.
Roofer,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
That resolution is approved, and then we'll look for a resolution approving the Indigo signs. I'm looking your way, Al.
I don't think so.
I'll make that.
Scott? Yes, sir. Roll call, please.
Kwame,
I'll abstain.
Roofer,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Fish,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Under old and unfinished business, we have a couple items. First is just a response. It's in your packet. There were some questions relating to the purchase agreement with Pebble Lake Golf Club from the July 15th open forum. There's a copy. I'll just go ahead and read it for the sake of the audience. The question, here's the questions as staff went back and from Dwayne and Cecily. The question was, the loan or line of credit that was written off in 2017, is that going to become payable, or is that a true loss for the city? The answer is the line of credit was written off as of December 31st, 2016. This became a loss for the city at that date. The line of credit was determined to be uncollectible and therefore was written off. Second question was, with giving or selling the golf course for $1, how does that deplete our city assets? The answer, as of December 31st, 2023, the city golf course capital assets had a historical cost of $1,604,005 and accumulated depreciation of $967,687 for a net book value of $636,318. Transferring the net book value of the assets to the Pebble Lake Golf Club will decrease the city's December 31st, 2023 net position by 0.43% to $148,492,501. Question was, what percentage of the city's assets is that? City's total assets as of December 31st had a value of $185,045,617. The city golf course capital asset net book value of $636,318 represents 0.34% of total assets. How does selling the golf course for $1 affect our bonding capabilities or our loan capabilities? The answer to that question is transferring the net book value of the golf course assets to the Pebble Lake Golf Club will not impact the city's bonding or loan capabilities. The golf course assets are not liquid financial resources, therefore are not available for future spending. Bond rating agencies look to the financial position of the city's government-type funds and business-type funds. Capital assets are not included within the governmental-type funds as they are not current spendable resources. Question raised was, what kinds of legs are we going to be put on after we sell the golf course for $1? Financial impacts are highlighted above. There will be a purchase agreement and development agreement that would spell out the details of the transaction and would ensure the terms are followed by the Pebble Lake Golf Club. If they are in default of any agreement, there are legal remedies that this will be and these will be binding contracts. Question was, are there any conflicts of interest among council members given that several shared that they golf? Answer is no. Golfing at the golf course does not constitute a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest is primarily a financial interest in the organization. You can find the definition in the city's code. You can find this definition of a conflict of interest in the city code, and it's at 33.03 conflict of interest. You can find that also on the website. Who is eligible to be voting on this matter? Relative to City Code 33.03 conflict of interest, no council member is a member of the golf board outside or beyond their official duties as a council person. Scott Kwame serves as a member of the golf board specifically as a performance of his official duties as a council person. Therefore, no council member has a conflict of interest or financial interest in the activities of the golf board and may participate in governmental decision-making without concern for a conflict of interest. Two more questions. If the staff are part of the golf association, are they allowed to write their own contract? Answer, staff do not serve as members of the golf association. Even if staff were contributing content or contract negotiations, staff do not have the ability to unilaterally enter into a contract without the agreement of the governing board. But again, staff do not serve as members of the golf association that I'm aware of. Is there a conflict of interest for staff involved with the golf association? The answer is yes. If the staff were voting members of the golf association, that would constitute a conflict of interest under most definitions of the term. Staff, however, are not voting members of the organization and are not involved with the association. Therefore, there is no conflict of interest. Further, none of the staff involved with any of the negotiations have ever been a member of the Pebble Lake Golf Club and do not consider themselves golfers. So that's the best that staff could answer those questions for you, Dwayne and Cecily. And I did invite both Dusty and Wade from the Pebble Lake Golf Board. I told you it was going to be at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm sorry it wasn't at the beginning of the meeting. But if there's any questions, or I shouldn't say questions, if there's anything you guys had to add to this, feel free to do that at this time.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
I would just like to say thank you to staff and whoever had a hand in preparing that, because it's very refreshing to make sure that we've got all of the correct information out there so that people aren't, tempted to try to find something where there's nothing. So, thank you for the staff and putting that together.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. All right. Second item is a motion appointing the candidate receiving the most votes at the November 5th election in Ward 3 at the November 18th council meeting to fill the rest of the unexpired term. And I think that should probably say, putting that on a motion to bring that as a resolution to that meeting, right? Because we'll have to vote on it at that meeting, or the council will have to vote on it at that meeting.
At that,
So this would be
18th?
this would be a motion bringing that as a resolution to that meeting to vote on.
how come we can't vote on it now and just decide that, so it's a quicker, forthwith?
You really can't because you don't know who you're appointing.
But it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's the winner of that election.
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be easier to, after all of the requirements are met to certify a candidate as won, and we don't know what the election is going to hold. I think it's just easier for the council to simply just say, as soon as the election canvassing is complete, and isn't that usually complete by the Wednesday after?
A week after.
Yeah, then you'll know, and then you can, I mean, it still requires a resolution, and I don't think, I wouldn't recommend doing a resolution naming an unknown person.
I don't understand it, and I mean, I do have some education, but I still can't figure that out, why we can't just go ahead, as it says very boldly in this statement, most votes of the November 5th election in Ward 3 at the November 18th council meeting will fill the rest of the unexpired term. I'm just kind of reading what's right off our agenda here, and it doesn't say that.
Would it?
It requires a resolution. If you want to offer a resolution to that effect, you guys can take that up and pass it if you so choose.
Would it, just, hey Al, would it, if in a unanimous motion to put a resolution appointing that person on the November 18th ballot, or on the November, would that, because I don't know that there's I really do, I feel like we're splitting hairs a little bit, because I think the intention of everyone is to bring this to the council on the 18th to appoint that person with a resolution. You know what I mean saying? Like,
Right.
So would there be a motion to, if you had a motion to put that winner of the ballot on the resolution on the 18th, I mean, does that, because I think that does what you're asking to do, and I agree with what you're saying. I just think that it needs to be a person.
I hear what you're saying too, but it seems like we're taking a step that we don't need to take. And now if we're going to go back with the forthwith, this is forthwith. This is that's even a little bit quicker. It might be 5 minutes quicker, but this is our forthwith.
You're still going to be required to have that person sworn in you're still going to be required to have that person sworn in at the next meeting, next available meeting. I just think that if you want to put this by way of a resolution, it isn't going to happen any quicker other than that first available meeting after the canvassing of the election.
And the one comment I would make too, think about if you're the candidate, I would want my name in that resolution if I'm going to be appointed to a city body, official position, and take an oath of office. I mean, I would want my name on that resolution too. So, I mean,
I think the name is going to be out there after the election is over. And I think that person is going to know who's going to be stepping in this seat. And that's why, as a council member in Ward 3, I want to get this done as quick as we can.
I don't disagree with the premise. I just don't know that it's saving any time. And I think I would, if it was me, I'd want my name on a resolution if I'm taking an oath in office to take but what's the wishes of the council? If someone wants to make a motion or whatever, a resolution, we'll just vote on it.
And as you said, I think we are splitting hairs here. But I just want to make sure we're very, very clear on this, and that there's, as we talked about the last time, we don't want to have anybody else appointed that does not win that election, and that's what I make sure that happens.
That's what it just says right
Yep.
here. That's exactly what it says.
And
They will be on there.
That's why I'm just saying, why are we not just agreeing to that right now?
Your
But it
Honor.
sounds like I'm going to be the odd man out here.
I don't think we have to, I mean, I don't disagree with the premise of what you're saying. I just think it's the mechanism that we get there. And again, if I was the winner of that election, I would want my name on that resolution if I'm going to take an oath of office to serve on a board. But
As much as I hate to say it, I think we just need to trust the opinion of our legal counsel. If Rolf doesn't think that, that it took a second there.
I mean, here, perhaps your motion is simply to invite the candidate that received the most votes to attend the next council meeting after the certification of the election to be seated.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll make it.
Scott,
Sure.
everyone good with that? You think it gets us to where we need to be? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Rolf. Perfect.
Thank you, Rolf.
All right. Reconsideration of approving a property tax abatement at 701 D'Amica Drive. Councilmember Job asked about that, and just for the clarification of the public, this was voted on at the last meeting, and council members are allowed to ask for a reconsideration if they vote in the negative to a resolution that doesn't pass, and Councilmember Job has asked to do that. So, floor is yours.
As you may recall, I previously had voted against a property tax rebate for 701 D'Amica Drive. This particular rebate application was filed a few years ago and was unfortunately overlooked until just this past month and a half or so. So I'm formally requesting that we bring this matter back to the table for a revote today.
Thank you, Councilmember Job. Would you like to offer a
Yes.
resolution approving it?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second, Tom. Question? Go ahead.
I just want to, I think we should offer the people an apology for that, because you didn't even get a notice to come to the meeting. And I would apologize to you for that you did not receive a notice for that vote before that vote.
I think as well, one other comment is that I did talk to Clara, and we have put systems in place now to, have a check so something like this would not happen again.
Well, Laura, I appreciate you bringing it back. I wish you would have passed.
I think it would also be fair to say, one of the issues was if had this been presented at the time of, the application, then, the makeup of the council would have been different than it is today. And at that time, the council was approving pretty much every application that came through, regardless of the value of the build. And so I think that in combination with obviously the application going for walkabouts for a while, obviously, it wasn't until, Mr. Lacey got his tax statement that he realized that he wasn't getting credited for the $5,000, and then looked into it, and then there was a failing, obviously. Sorry.
The credit wouldn't start yet. When does that start? Is it in 24 or 25?
I think it's in 24 for
Okay.
this.
'Cause
no,
we just-
25
Yeah.
for this one, because it
'Cause-
would have, it just
Yeah,
showed
because it
up
was
on the map.
22.
Yeah, we
so-
just learned from the county of it
So
showing up.
I think, there was obviously a series of errors, and hopefully now we've got those corrected so we can move on.
And there's a resolution on the floor approving the property tax abatement for 701 D'Amica Drive. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 That resolution is approved. Thank you. There's no new business that I'm aware of. Miscellaneous announcements. Lynn, did you want to, we had some National Night Out is Tuesday, tomorrow, August 6th. If you have a question about if there's a party in your neighborhood, call City Hall, ask for Jean Bowman. She'll be the one to get you that information. And primary election day is August 13th. Polls open at 7, close at 8 p.m. Filing for city council and mayor positions is currently open, and that also closes on August 13th at 4:30?
5 p.m.
5 p.m.
We did forget one thing on there, on August 14th. So after that long election day, we get turnout at 7 a.m. We have a committee of the whole.
Committee of
We
the
were
whole.
just looking at that.
August
We're
14th.
really excited.
August 14th. Okay, with that, the council is going to adjourn to a closed session to consider potential real estate transaction allowed by Minnesota statute 13D.05. There's a chance we will be reconvening. So with that, we're adjourned to a closed session.